some things bug you and other things don't. I mean, there's lots of things that could bother you that don't, because you're obviously not bothered by everything that you could be bothered by, right? There's lots of things in the world that aren't set right, but some of them really bug you. Maybe they make you cynical and bitter, you know? Oh God, look at how the world is constituted. It's so awful that I can't sustain my faith in the sight of that. It's like, well, you've got something to do there, guy. That's your problem. Why? Who knows? I would say the reason is that it's your destiny calling to you in the form of guilt over unfulfilled obligations. You have an instinct for growth. That's not a mystical statement. It's part of being human. We don't reach the limits of our potential. We're neotenic in some sense. We're continual children, biologically speaking. And so we're always transforming and changing in some direction. What direction? Well, your conscience tells you, at least in part, this bugs you. Well, it's your problem. Now, you may have to investigate that and straighten it out, because even your formulation of what bugs you is likely to be ill-constituted. But still, that's something calling to you. And you avoid it at your peril, and everyone else's peril too. And it is, see, that's the way that your biology manifests itself in such a sophisticated manner. It's beyond you. It's like your better self is attempting to manifest itself by torturing you with a set of problems that you need to address. And then you can refuse that, but then all the meaning goes out of your life if you do that. That's not good. We're developing something now to help people turn problems into goals. I have a problem. Well, sure you do. Okay, what's your problem? Okay, well, how do you turn that into a goal? So that's so interesting if you think about it that way, is that that's your goals, your problems. What should I do with my life? Well, what problems do you have? Well, there you go. Solve those. I'm not being flip about this. That's where the answer is to be found. That's not happiness. And happiness has those problems you already described. You know, it's got this now focused impulsivity. And you know, I've been hard on happiness as a pursuit, and perhaps too much so, because I haven't had very much happiness because I've been so ill for the last while. And you know, it's possible that I've undervalued it. Perhaps not, but it's possible. In any case, if it comes along, you're a fool if you don't welcome it. But it's still not the proper pursuit. I suppose to some degree it's not deep enough. Do not punish what you want to have happen. So here's an example. Imagine that you've married someone that you find attractive. And then imagine that other people find that person attractive as well, and that's actually somewhat threatening to you. And then instead of dealing with the fact that you're threatened by the very thing that you were attracted to and that you're blessed to have, you start to punish the person that you're with when they manifest themselves as attractive. Well, you do that for 10 years and the attractive person is no longer there. And then you're going to be angry at them, even though it was completely your fault. You know, because if you punish someone for the manifestation of a desirable virtue, it really hurts them. And because people are, you know, it's so interesting to watch what happens when people stop me on the street, especially if they're shy and maybe somewhat damaged. They want to tell me about something good they've done. But they're very hesitant about it because their experience has been that if they reveal something good they've done, they either get ignored or punished. And so they don't want to do it. They're afraid. But if they do it and then they get a reward, well, they're unbelievably happy about that. But that's a good example because it's very common for people to experience punishment for their virtue. And you know, you can do that with your kids too if you're jealous of them. I mean, maybe you have a kid who's really bright. He's brighter than you. It's like, are you so sure you're happy about that? And how do you know that you're not going to punish that child because you're jealous? And if you think you're not that sort of person, well, you should think again, because people are that sort of people. And perhaps you can train yourself not to do it, but envy is a pretty common human emotion, and the probability is that you're reasonably prone to it. But so one of the things I learned again from animal behaviorists, Skinner in particular, Skinner believed that, he's the psychologist who was most famous for learning experiments with rats. He believed that the best form of discipline, so if you wanted to train an animal to do something, was reward. You waited till the animal did something that approximated what you wanted, and you immediately rewarded it. So maybe he would train a rat to climb a ladder and then walk across the top of a ladder down another ladder. And well, he just watched the rat, and whenever the rat went near the ladder, he'd give it a food pellet. And soon it was near the ladder all the time. And then being near the ladder, it would put a leg on a front paw on one rung. Bang, food pellet. Well, soon the rat was going like this. And then the next thing, it was going like this. And he could, a good animal behaviorist can train an animal to do an amazing thing, any number of amazing things. In your intimate relationships, if you watch the people that are around you and then you see them doing something that they should do more of, and I don't mean this in a manipulative sense, because hopefully if you have any sense, you're rewarding them for something that would also be really good for them. And you say, look, I saw you do this, and that's really good. Do more of that. It's like, man, you're just opening up the pathway for that person to deliver what you want. If you'll admit what you want, if you'll reward it when it happens, if you pay proper attention, if you think you deserve what you desire, if you think your ideals are worth pursuing, if you have any faith in yourself. All those things have to be explored and answered, but it's unbelievably powerful. And that's all dependent on, moral orientation and the capacity to pay attention. So imagine I take two people and I say, okay, I'm going to give you $100, and you have to give some of it to the person right beside you. And they can either agree or disagree with the split, but if they disagree, you don't get anything. Okay, so a classical economist would say that the person should take the 100, offer the person next to them $1, and the person should accept it, because why not? They get $1 instead of nothing. And that's the solution. But what happens is that if you don't offer that other person something close to 50-50, they're likely to tell you to go to hell. Yes, yeah. Very.
And then you get nothing.
You get nothing too. You think, well, why would people do that? Because they just reject $50 and who cares? And the answer is, well, we don't just play one game with other people. We play a repeating game. And so imagine we did this. So imagine it's a crowd and they're all watching you. And I offer you $100 and you have to share it with the person next to you. And you say, would you like to take $70? And the person says, well, I'm not sure that's fair to you, but if it's okay, yes. But then everyone else sees that. And now they all have an opportunity to pick who they're going to play with next. Well, you're not going to get picked last, are you? Remember what you told me? You didn't want to get picked last, right?
I did not.
Okay, so what you did was you turned yourself into an athlete.
A machine.
Okay.
Always going to get first.
Okay, great. So, but imagine we expand that game.
Yes.
And we say, you want to be the person that everyone wants to play with.
Yep.
Well, then all you have in your whole life is invitations to play. Well, how are you going to be that person? Be productive, straightforward, generous.
Make everyone else better around you, and they're going to want to play with you.
Absolutely. So there you go. And then you get to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how is that not the best possible deal? It's clearly. See, so the if the ethical argument is put properly, it is by far the most compelling argument. It's like, if you want to have everything you could possibly want and more, then be a good person. The better a person you are, the more likely that is to happen. That doesn't mean that you're completely protected against getting cut off at the knees. But there's no better strategy.
That's it.
And you can even think about it selfishly. And I talk about this to some degree in Beyond Order. Let's say that you want to be selfish. You think that's the best possible strategy. Why should I care about others? Okay, let's say you should only act in your own best interest. Well, then it's like, well, what's your best interest? Well, what does interest mean and what does you mean? What's in your best interest? Your best interest. 3 mysteries. What's best, what's interest? Okay. Well, there's you. But you aren't just you right now. You're you, and you tomorrow, and you next week, and you next month, and you in 5 years, and you in 10 years, and you when you're a pensioner. You're a community of selves stretched across time. And so if you were enlightened and selfish, you would act in a manner that would benefit that entire community across time. And I don't think that's any different than acting on the best possible part for other people. I think they're the same problem. So I think as soon as human beings discovered the future, we were no longer singular individuals. We were instantly each a community. And then the community ethic prevails. And the community ethic is, I want to win in a way that makes you win. That's the best possible victory.